Welcome to the TAE Aerospace Ipswich Jets after the 80. Proudly brought to you with thanks to the Jets Leagues Club, the Hardware community, and a huge supporter of rugby league in Ipswich, and of course your Ipswich Jets. Today we review our win of our Hostplus Cup boys over the weekend, and look forward to the weekend coming up, which is also our Old Boys Day, which we'll talk about shortly. On the subject of old boys, for episode 3 we've brought in one of those old boys, Todd Riggs. Todd is a notable figure in the history of Ipswich Jets, having contributed significantly as a player, coach and supporter, and during his playing career, which started in 2003, Todd has demonstrated versatility, occupying positions in halfback, 5'8", and also hooker. In 2010, he served as co-captain alongside Paul Stevenson, leading a team under the guidance of coaches Glenn Lazarus and later Ben and Shane Walker. Beyond his days of playing, Todd continued to influence the sport, and he coached the Ipswich Diggers under-20s team, and more recently he's now involved with the Jets Advisory Board, collaborating with Dane Phillips and Chris Ash to enhance the club's competitiveness and community engagement. Jet number 400, Todd Riggs, good morning.
Morning, Richard.
How was that good for an intro?
Excellent. Yeah, mate.
Okay, great.
Beautiful.
So first of all, let's talk about the game. How good was it?
Really impressive. There were moments where it looked like it might slip away on us, and in previous years it definitely would have. But what Ty and the coaching staff have done, they've got a united unit at the moment, and they hung tough. I mean, the thing that impressed me most, amongst a whole range of players, the impact that Ollie Pascoe and Brandon Clark have on this football side. It's a 1-2 punch, and yeah, they are really entertaining footballers to watch.
Okay, and it's good to probably review part of that game, and let's talk about Alan Fitzgibbon. It was, I think a stand up in a tackle with Josh Patson, handed it to Matty Lyon. Matty Lyon got it out to Alan Fitzgibbon, and 40 metres down the touchline. I mean, we've seen Johnny Rubin, we've seen Alan Fitzgibbon. How good is it, and how good are our wingers this year?
Well, there's some genuine speed, and when you've got Kenny Mamalo on the bench because of these two blokes, it's a sign of where your strength is. And with Wolfie, it was good to see him actually get into some space. Yeah. That space wasn't there. It was there for Jono against East in the week before, but on the weekend, as soon as Matty got him that ball, I tapped the blokes on the shoulder, said they won't stop him here, and he made good on it. And his, what Alan does is it's not just his running because he eats the metres up and he brings it back. He actually jammed a whole bunch of blokes, particularly late in that second half. He was coming in off the wing and belting blokes. So that's a bloke that is committed and wants to have an impact on the game.
And we know that Tweed had a big forward pack, and that's what they're renowned for. For the first 20 minutes of that first half, we stopped that and went out to 10-0. Got into 14-10 at half time. Obviously that was disappointing end to the first half. You've been a coach. How do you pick up your boys, and what do you think Ty was saying to them in the sheds at half time?
Well, in talking to Ty after the game, he was just really positive to say, look, the positive at half time was that it's only 14-10 down, because there was a real momentum swing that happened in the back end of that first half. And if the boys weren't on the same page like they are, they could have let it slip away, but they were good enough to sort of stem the bleeding a little bit and then come out after the second half, get some points, and they sort of went through a similar situation again in the second half. So as a coach, you're just saying, right, let's put that 40 to bed and let's get back out in the field and go back through the same process that we did to start the game. And to their credit, they hung tough the whole match.
We come out second half, Jules puts a kick through the line, Johnny Rubin pops up and puts his mark on the game and gets it down. Again, putting your coaching hat on and in some respects even your playing hat on, how important was it to get those early points within the first 5 minutes of the second half?
It was important because the momentum had swung again, and the rub of the green was certainly going Tweed's way. Like our boys are certainly guilty of coming up with some errors and some penalties, but there were some calls that were dodgy to say the least. And they were getting a bit frustrated. So that play with Jono scoring, and he did a good job to score that. That ball was pretty ugly. For him to score that, it sort of stemmed the flow a bit in that second half, and then the boys literally went on a 5 minutes, just turn the dial, and that was enough for the boys to get back in that position where the game was winnable again.
And then it's a beautiful segue to being winnable. 5 minutes to go. You talked earlier about Ollie Pascoe. Again, Jules pops up, picks the ball over the post, and Ollie's there to ground it. I guess two things. Talk a bit more about Ollie and what he brings to the team, but also, again, how good is it to show that for a full 80 minutes we can ground it out and get through over a tough game.
Plenty to unpack in that question, mate. But it's the highlight for me is standing in that corporate centre at the end there. Ollie was the first one to the ball, but there was actually 6 blokes.
Yeah.
Side on, there was 6 blokes that were ready for Jules' kick, and that was the sign of a desperate football side and blokes that were up for the fight for 80 minutes. That's been the pleasing thing in both matches is, they put together chunks of good periods of play, moments where they're just untouchable, but then when they drop off a little bit, that they're persistent enough to just keep coming. Ollie Pascoe, 80 minutes, he comes out and plays hooker for the bulk of the first half and then rolls into lock. And he probably, I haven't seen the stats, but if he wasn't the largest yardage bloke and the most number of hit-ups, I don't know who was. But his impact and intensity on the game, and then you couple that with Clarkey who comes on, you just got these 2 bulldogs that are in there that are, it doesn't matter what size, because Tweed were massive, it doesn't matter what size those blokes are, they're just getting up in their face and jamming them. And literally that's what you've got to do at Q-Cup is you've got to play for 80 minutes, even when things are going against you. And you can see the boys get a bit frustrated, but they were good enough to hold out, not buckle, and they worked their way back down the field. And that try at the end was, I think, a sweet reward for blokes that have been put in all pre-season and have bought into hopefully what's a new era of Jets footy.
Now, I was told this morning via some random text messages, do you know what year was the last time we were 6 points after 4 rounds?
Yeah, 215, I'm led to believe.
2015.
215, I'm in a different group text, I think was talking about the same thing.
We may edit that out or whatever during depends how the year goes. But mate, it's great. It's a buoyant place to be, right now in Ipswich. But I want to talk about you now, mate. It's this Old Boys Day coming up.
Yep.
Take us back to your playing days. What was it like? But what does being a Jet mean to you?
Well, I'm born and bred Ipswich. I work locally. I got, I'm very proud of being a Jet. I was a Norse junior coming through, and thankfully at that time I had some strong role models in the club that sort of said, challenge yourself, always push yourself to play at the highest level you can while you can. So in 2000, when the Colts came back in, I came up and I played Colts for a couple of years. And then I just sort of, grinded away playing reserve grade because, I was never a sensational footballer by any stretch, but I just, I was fit and I was persistent and I kept hanging around and trying to improve. But when the Jets are going good, Ipswich is a better town. There's absolutely no doubt in that. And really, as a bloke who's in his 40s now, my friendship groups and the people that my wife and my kids are friends with are people that I met through Jets.
Yep.
So that's it's a lifelong connection for me, and that's why it's an absolute privilege being president of the Old Boys at the moment amongst a raft of really good guys that love being part of the Old Boys as well. But I certainly love this city, and this is what this is one small way that the Old Boys, when the team is competitive, and it's not necessarily about wins and losses all the time, but if we're turning up as Old Boys and seeing a group of guys go out there and rip in for 80 minutes, and I'm not just talking about the Cup guys, I'm talking about all of our teams now. We want to see them be successful.
Yep.
So it's a privilege to be an Old Boy of this club, and I probably have more reserve grade games to my name than Q Cup games, but it was just part of my DNA. It was part of who I was. That's what sort of gave me a purpose, and now being on the advisory board, it's given me more purpose at the club.
This is probably a huge question, and bear in mind the audience is a very family-friendly audience watching this, mate. But what are some of your standout memories in the green and white. And you know, we've covered you've played under some fantastic coaches.
Yep.
You've played with you know, some fabulous men over that time. So what's some of your standout memories?
Playing with a bloke like Denny Coburn was really, really important. You know, certainly almost like a father figure to me over that time, and I know that's well documented. Kevy Walters was a really strong influence on my sort of footballing. He was probably the zone that sort of gave me that first crack around the 06, proper crack, 06, 07, 08, that sort of stuff. He was very influential as me as a halfback, you know, halfback 5'8", in terms of improving my football game. And then the Ben and Shane era, I mean, those guys, you know, they sort of used to laugh at me sometimes in terms of when I was kicking the footy. They joked, "Are you left-footed?" And anyway, we worked over a couple of seasons doing thousands and thousands of kicks, and then become a great kicker, but certainly more proficient. And under those guys, you know, took my football game to that. I'm certainly, you know, well known for probably being the worst wrestler in the club of all time, but you know, from where I started to where I finished was pretty good. Probably a highlight for me was, I remember, I can't remember the year it was back when the Young Guns used to have a football side, and this is back, it was definitely Kevy's time, so it must have been, say, 07, 08, it might have been 08, and back in those days we used to go down and we played a few matches before the Titans down at Carrara, down at the old Carrara, and we played the Young Guns one night, and I absolutely belted down, rained the whole game. Amongst the whole game, there was 3 errors the whole game amongst both sides, and a good mate of mine, Stephen West, kicked a field goal from 40 out, 10 metres in from the sideline with 30 seconds to go for us to win the game. It was, bar none, the best football game I've been a part of.
Excellent. You know, we've talked about Old Boys Day. Why is it, you know, important for a club like ours to honour those players that have gone before?
You know, we've got, as of the weekend, we've got 699 old boys that have pulled on the Q Cup jersey. We would have significantly more than that have, from an old boys perspective, that have played reserve grade and lower grades, and even from recognising all the staff and the volunteers that have come in. This day provides an opportunity for us to come together, you know, and we will have, you know, hopefully 100 odd old boys there on the weekend, and there will be blokes that travel from central Queensland to come down. So it's an excellent opportunity for guys who have been doing it routinely over the years. It's their one yearly catch-up, where they come back and connect with blokes that they you know, played footy with or were coached by or managed by, and yeah, it's just a great way for us to come together as a group and to, you know, pay respect to, you know, for us it's we certainly gave to the club, but also the club gave us an opportunity as well. So it's a really good opportunity for us to connect, have a great day in the Canberra, and hopefully see the boys put in a really strong performance against Burleigh on Saturday.
Now we plan to get this out, you know, early in the week. So if somebody's seen this as an old boy who hasn't been to one of our old boy days or hasn't reconnected back to the club, what's your message to them?
Our message is real simple. We actually have, over the last couple of years, to scale things back just to be as simple as we possibly can. You just come up to the front gate, you tell them you're an old boy, the ladies will give you a wristband, you come around to the can bar, and we'll be there. It's a free barbecue, you know, subsidised drinks, and then, you know, hopefully afterwards we'll take all the old boys over to the sheds out the back and sing the team song. The club here is going to put on some drinks afterwards and some discounted meals, but really there's no obligation to any old boy to do anything but come on the day. Just come and be part of it, and let's enjoy each other's company.
So mate, we've talked about the present, we've gone back to the past, let's talk to the future. You know, how proud are you of where this club has come? And you've been, you know, around for over 20 years. You know, with our development of our women's senior rugby league team, but as you said, paying important credit to those junior grades too that build those pathways up. So we've now got, you know, 7 grades of football. Also now, you know, netball as a you know, another code that we look after. So, you know, from your perspective, you know, a long time involvement at the Jets, how proud are you of where this club currently is how it's evolved over time?
It's a marquee club. Like it really is the pinnacle of rugby league and netball in Ipswich, and we've got to work hard, and top office and all the people that are involved with it have got to work hard to make sure that we're providing the best pathways, opportunities for local Ipswich juniors to come through in both boys and girls in rugby league, and certainly the netball as well. But there are plenty of schools in the Ipswich area that are running league programs. There's talent there, and if we can continue to keep that crew coming through, and naturally there'll be some that go on to, through their management, go on to different NRL opportunities, which is, that's part of footy. But I'm really proud of how the club continues to grow and diversify, but in particular the last, say, 7 to 8 months, in terms of where we were, particularly in a Q Cup spot, because no doubt the way you unpack it is how, if you've got a successful Q Cup team, that sort of permeates into all the other levels.
Yeah.
So we're kicking some goals there at the moment, which is good. It's a long season ahead, but there is, what the club has provided is opportunity for so many local rugby league players, boys and girls in this region, to come through, to for a sprinkling of them to make it through to higher level honours, through to Q Cup, through to NRL, whatever it might be, but also just local Ipswich juniors playing for the Jets, which is similar to me. And there's so many people that have just come through. If they're playing, whether it be the CC, MM, and hopefully playing Cup, because there'll be a bunch of those that's the pinnacle they get to. Yeah. So if they're doing it at the Jets, that's perfect. So that's what I'm really proud of that.
We've talked, and obviously, John, our chair, talks very much, as do I and others, about the privilege of wearing the green and white, and wearing the colours of the city. You've done it. You've worn it proudly. What's your message, to those kids or those debutants? Doesn't matter whether netball or football, because wearing the green and white doesn't matter. Where you're doing that. What's your message to those people who have that privilege of wearing the green and white?
Be proud of your city. Be proud of it, because there are people that are behind you here. Right? Your families are here, and we know that Ipswich has become a genuine multicultural city, and it's a growing city. There are opportunities here for you to do that. Every bit of effort and commitment that you give to this club, it'll give back to you. So take the opportunity. It's a privilege to wear the green and white. Don't take that for granted for 1 second. And certainly, we hold ourselves to account on how we perform on the field, and how we perform off the field, and how we interact as community members. But be proud of your city. Be proud to wear it. Be proud to be a Jet. And all the club asks for you to do is give us the absolute best you got.
Yeah, that's great words. Mate, obviously one of the things that we've taken on in recent years is to recognise one of those Jets players or coaches who have really contributed and become a legend of this club. Last year we started out with Danny Coburn. This year it's Tyson Lefipo. So let's just talk about Tyson. Tyson, Jet number 453. Yep. He started his career in 2006, just behind you a little bit. Yep. You know the man. Tell us about the man, Tyson Lefipo, not the player. Tell us about the man behind the green and white.
He's a very calm man. He's a gentle soul. But he's also just when things are getting a little bit tense, he's that guy that can just calm things down. He's got a real savvy sense of humour, and he just knows how to diffuse things when they're getting a little bit tense, whether that be on the field or off the field. When you're training semi-professionally for a long period of time, there are tense moments of training, and Tyson was an absolute master of just saying something a little bit funny just to break the tension. And but just a guy that's just so unassuming, would go out and he just performs. He's a bloke that just was everywhere on the footy field, and starting out as a winger and virtually transitioning all the way into being a middle forward. something like 17 seasons, I think he played.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's a credit to him in terms of how well that he treated and looked after his body, that he was able to get through that. But he was a person that had a connection with every single bloke in the football team. You know, he was a guy that would have all the different handshakes and all those types of things with all the different boys. So, yeah, he was a real player's player.
You touched on it briefly in that summation, but obviously we're trying to, with Tyson, what was his leadership style like, and what influence did he have on those younger players, coming through the system?
He was a servant leader for sure. He led by example, but he was a guy that absolutely went out of his way to make sure that every single bloke, regardless of what position or where they sat in the pecking order, and I'm not just talking about players, I'm talking about the staff, is he had connection with every piece of puzzle in the organisation he had connection with. And I think that's what endeared him. I mean, he played a lot of football games, he was an incredibly effective footballer, but I think that his ability to connect with every single person in the organisation is what sort of sat him out as a genuine leader. He wasn't a leader by yelling and screaming or anything like that. He was always there. He always knew who was who in the zoo, and he was able to preempt certain things before they needed to be addressed, because he took the time to invest in understanding the whole organisation.
At a level of advisory board, and obviously our board and executive team, it's always very difficult to recognise just one man or woman, who's been part of the Jets story, part of the Jets culture, enough to be able to celebrate them in a special jersey, in a special way on one day, because there's a lot of people that could hold that honour. So why Tyson? Why do you think Tyson holds such a poignant place in Jets story and Jets culture?
Well, his longevity, certainly for one. Sitting second in the list of the amount of games played for Jets is unbelievable, around blokes like Cobes and BL. So his longevity and the journey of the way that he started as a winger, ended up in the pack. But I don't think across his 17 seasons that he played for the club is that there isn't anyone that wasn't better for spending time with Tyson.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's important that he's being honoured this weekend, or being recognised this weekend, is that even now he's coming back as sort of connection through a sponsor and things like that, is that he will have people that just are drawn to him and will come up and talk to him, because that's the type of person he is. He values connection with people, but he also does it. It's authentic. It's not networking. It's not manufactured. It's authentic, and it's important to recognise him, because he has had a lasting effect on the club, in not just what the stuff when he pulled his boots on, but it was all the stuff around it that I think makes him one of a sensational Jet.
Okay, Todd, thank you. That's a wrap up on this episode of the TAE Aerospace Ipswich Jets After the 80, proudly brought to you by the Ipswich Jets Leagues Club. Todd, thank you for giving up some of your time this morning, sharing some of those memories and everything there is to come. So as we said, don't forget Old Boys this Saturday, 5th of April, celebrating Tyson, and all of our Old Boys with a special jersey and presentation, and our Hostplus Cup game kicking off at 3 p.m. And then we'll head back to the Leagues Club straight after to celebrate the game and again to swap some old stories. So stay tuned, make sure you like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time as we bring you all things Ipswich Jets.